Welcome to all sins and commandments alike. This is Griever, your guys' host as always, bringing you guys episode 14 of the final season of 7 Deadly Sins, Dragons, Judgement. Now, this episode, while not as crazily animated as the last one, you could sort of tell that the quality dipped a little bit here and there in places. Honestly, once again, where there wasn't a whole lot of things going on, there was a lot of stills, and there was when there was animation, it was close up, so it looked fine. For the most part, I found the whole episode to be well animated and fine, not on the quality of the last one necessarily, but still better than some of the other episodes we got in this season. Now, but that's not the main thing that's happening here. The main thing is, this should have been the end of 7 Deadly Sins. Let's just be straight up with this. This is volume 37. Now, volume 37 is one of the last volumes, so we're getting close to the crunch time. I believe there's only 41 total volumes, so there's only 4 volumes after this one left. And the thing is that this is where it should have all ended. Because you would think, okay, but that ending wasn't that satisfying. That ending wasn't that great. The Demon King was lackluster, this happened, that happened. But this episode goes to show us, between the last episode and this episode, did it not feel like an epilogue? And once again, actually, the manga had a few other scenes that we don't get to see animated, and I find that a little disappointing. There were some very classic Meliodas Elizabeth scenes, there were some very classic Deanne scenes, some very classic Slater scenes, things that we didn't actually get to see animated, and I find that really unfortunate because with this whole feeling of an epilogue that we're getting, sort of an end of a series thing, we beat the main bad guy, this is happening, that's happening, this episode starts us off on a much more sour note and then continues on to the sort of the finalization of what is going to happen. And honestly, knowing what's going to happen later after this episode, I can honestly say with 100% certainty it should have ended here. Now, that being said, this episode does go to show us some good character from Bond. Bond being an amazing friend. Now, this scene is altered. It's basically Elaine and Bond basically doing the deed, so to speak. And then they move on and talk about a lot more things than they do in this scene here. I mean, they even show them fully clothed and stuff. Nobody wears a red leather jacket to bed. Sorry. Even a badass like Bond does not wear a red leather jacket to bed. Either way, what they're talking about here is the fact that Meliodas, that the world, that Leonis, and outside to the north, to the south, like giant storms are happening, hurricanes here, Earth being destroyed there, blah, blah, blah. Nature is basically against the presence of Meliodas. Meliodas has taken on his rightful place as the Demon King, so to speak. He has the level of power. He has that new White Ranger Tiger power form, and he's Demon King level. The problem is a god isn't supposed to survive on this plane. They need to either go to the goddess realm or go to the demon realm or go to purgatory, somewhere that can sustain them, somewhere with a much stronger plane of existence. The mortal world is no place for gods, and the earth itself is sort of fighting back against his presence. So I always took it to say that Meliodas' presence alone, it's not that he can't even control it. It's not just nature fighting against him, but the fact that his presence alone is breaking apart the earth, and he can't control that. It's just his mere presence is doing this, is causing this. So, because he's too strong, and he can't control it all necessarily, he can't constantly keep it all in the container. So, and nature is reacting to that. So, he has to leave. He has to disappear from this world. Now, the thing is that Bond is an excellent friend in this scene because he says, when I went to revive you, and when everything was going down, he just stood silently supporting me. He didn't judge me. He didn't say yes or no or give me advice. He just knew that this was my goal. This is what I had to do. So unless he needs my help, unless he asks for it, I'm not going to stand in the way of his decision. Bond and Meliodas have one of the greatest relationships, even with 7 Deadly Sins sort of tapering off after this point in the manga. And of course, these anime seasons have not done it very good justice either. Bond and Meliodas have one of the greatest friendships, one of the best bromances, if you will, in all of recent manga. If not, I would argue they were in the top 10 of best bromances in manga. Like, just period. They have such an interesting dynamic. It's an evolutionary friendship that doesn't just start, okay, they're friends and then they stay stale after that. They're constantly, their friendship deepens, it's strained, it gets closer, a million things happen. And this is just showing Bond, once again, being a good friend, because ideally you're like, no, we got to find a way to stop this. The way that Deanne is a friend to Elizabeth. Like, why aren't you upset about this? Why aren't you trying to stop this? There's got to be a way. Bond has a closer, a deeper friendship and fully understands that it's not his job to get in the way of his friend in that way. And it's sad and it's heartbreaking, but it's also correct. It's the right way to be a true friend. Is that if he needs help, he'll ask you for it. He has made this decision. He knows what to do. And the problem is that there's a scene in the manga between Bond and Meliodas that we see. It's in between the last episode and the beginning of this one, and it's not here. And that, unfortunately, is a very key thing missing, I feel, from this episode, because that was a super key moment in the manga and let us all know what was going down. This one, it sort of speeds it up a little bit, and I think it's sort of wrong the way they did it. Either way, goes on from there, follows the manga pretty closely. I didn't see any new added scenes. I thought initially that the scene with Gil Thunder picking the weeds or picking the barley or whatever he was doing in Vanya Village with mead and stuff, I thought that might have been added, but then I went back and read the chapters in volume 37, and no, this was all in the manga. So they're basically traveling around. They're going to have a good old hunt. They're going to have a good time with all the 7 deadly sins. Bart's going to make an announcement later when they all get back. They basically go around, like the girls are setting up a picnic pretty much is what they're doing. They're having a good time, and the guys are all out hunting to make a grand feast, and they're just going to have a grand old time, right? But they all underlying that, all that like laughter and fun times, they all know what's happening. They all sense it. They all understand what's going down. And we have the scene once again with Elizabeth and Deanne. See, Elaine already knows because she talked to Bond. How Bond knows this, once again, he's supposed to know it from the scene we don't get in the anime. I find that very strange. Unless we got it in one of the versions of the last episode and I didn't see it, or it was at the beginning of this episode and I got a weird link, but either way, I didn't see that part. So pretty much Elaine already knows about it and Bond knows about it. And so when the guys and the girls all split up, we have the guys sort of denying what's going down sort of idea, and then they're basically like, no, we need to hunt some more. Escanor's the one who brings it up. No, we don't need to head back right now. Let's hunt some more sort of idea. Amelia's like, what's going on? And then Bond sort of has to bring it up, like, they're not as naive as you think. Like, they can sense something's going down. And we have the, honestly, rather well done scenes. I didn't have a problem with any of the scenes here. The way the girls handle it. Elaine, of course, is very sad about everything, and she's trying to do it. Deanne very wears her heart on her sleeve sort of idea. It's always been right there out in the open. So she says what she's thinking and feeling all the time. She doesn't understand Elizabeth's new resolve yet because I haven't talked about it yet. And so she calls her like heartless or cold or cruel or something like that. And she's like, because she's crying because they're talking about the future and they know Meliodas isn't going to be around. They don't know what that means for Elizabeth quite yet, but they know that Meliodas is not going to be around. And nobody seems to be focusing on that. Even they're trying their damnedest not to, but it still comes up. Same with Hawk and Gother and Escanor, and everybody's sort of saying, like, Hawk calls Meliodas an idiot. He's like, have you even talked to Elizabeth about this? Like, where are you going to go? He's like, well, I'm going to go to the demon realm. I mean, it is the place where I was born. It's the place I belong, really. And, I mean, I can't stay here. So, and so they're both trying to play it off a little bit. Of course, they are actually very sad about this. Elizabeth, not so much, though, because when Bartra decides to make Meliodas king, Elizabeth's like, yeah, sorry, we can't do that because I'm going with Meliodas to the demon realm. See ya. And everyone's like, what? And Meliodas is like the same deal. Like, no, you can't. And he goes, yeah, I can. And he can't stop me. So Meliodas got told. Either way, as I said before, in the manga, there was some extra scenes, like just some extra shots here that really focus on the original characters back from like the first arc from chapter 1, him being a pervert, jumping his face into her chest and all that stuff. Maybe they're doing that because the way I guess the way 2020 and 2021 and eventually 2022 is going to shift that sort of attitude. They don't want to showcase that as much. Unfortunately, that's always been a part of Meliodas' character, and not showing it doesn't erase it. So I just don't get why they wouldn't showcase that, because we're supposed to be seeing the Seven Deadly Sins together one last time with their antics, acting like they do. Bond doesn't know who King is. So that's not King, I don't know. Gother misreading the room. Escanor running away. Hawk pretending to be strong as hell and then getting beat up. Meliodas being a pervert to Elizabeth. Merlin doing her thing. Like, we're supposed to be seeing them all as we remember them from the first season, and their typical traits, their typical interactions. So unfortunately in this episode, they skip a couple of things from the chapters that really solidify that, and it is noticeable. But once again, the episode was done all right. Now, to go on to the big thing. The big boulder in the room, quite literally, that drops in this episode. Now, this is why I say, I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. So don't worry. This is not spoiling what happens in the next episode. But Elizabeth has resolved herself. There's the gate, opening, blah, 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 blah. So Meliodas is not going to be king. He's going to go to the demon realm with Elizabeth. It's been decided. They're going to go there. Elizabeth has a walk. They say their goodbyes and stuff. And it actually feels a little rushed, but it's the same as the manga, so whatever. It feels a little rushed. And then Elizabeth starts walking forward. She goes ahead of Meliodas, like, all right, we're going to go. And like Merlin's like, yeah, I opened up the gate here. It was the easiest entrance to the demon realm, yada, yada, yada. And so Meliodas is waving away and says, yeah. And Elizabeth has this speech where she goes on to say, like, I don't regret what has happened. I don't regret what I've done. I think that we're finally moving forward here. I know that it's very tough to say goodbye, but I know that this is the right thing for me. This is the right thing for Meliodas. This is the right thing for everybody. She's content in her course. And this is supposed to be sort of a sad moment, but well-rounded, full circle sort of idea. And then, as Meliodas turns back and waves to the Seven Deadly Sins, who are now disbanded, and everybody's gone, and everything's cookie cutter, everything's great. Boom, there goes Elizabeth. Dead. Slam, bam, jam. Now, the problem with this is, there is a problem. There's more than one, but I can only say so much without spoilers. The problem with this is that it was goddamn funny. It was funny in the manga, and it's funny here. I can't really think of a way, though I haven't really tried to. I can't really think of a good way to showcase this. It's supposed to be shocking. It's shocking, but in a hilarious way. It's like, oh my God, did that really happen? With a big toothy grin on your face. It's not like, oh my God. Oh my God. Did that really happen? That's not what we get. I don't know what they were expecting with the reaction here. This is supposed to be like, holy shit moment. It is, but in the wrong context. It just looks laughable in the anime. It was hilarious way to end a chapter in the manga. Yeah, so I'm not going to spoil what happened. I'm not going to talk about anything that's going to happen after this point. But I will say is that forgetting the crushing boulder for a moment, this would have been an okay ending for Seven Deadly Sins. The last 10-15 chapters, the last couple episodes, Demon King's plan seems sort of like lackluster, body snatcher from the 90s cartoons. Very lackluster. There's a lot of plot hole problems there. There's plot hole problems with Merlin. But at the end of the day, they were starting to surface, and then the Demon King was defeated. It was like, okay, I have a few problems with the power scaling. I have a few problems with the lackluster final villain. Classic shonen, right? Classic shonen. But, alright, it's still a pretty damn good series, right? It's still damn good. I feel very bad for Season 3 watchers who didn't read the manga and had to sit through Season 3, which was greatness in the manga. But yeah, overall, still a solid series. Solid. And if we had ended it here, maybe spaced out that goodbye scene, maybe spaced out the whole, okay, Meliodas has to leave and it's very heartfelt, and maybe we had expanded the character interactions more with the denial and then the acceptance and then the talks about it in the boar's hat and all this stuff, seeing our favorite characters, the 7 deadly sins, all together again, realizing that they're going to have to say goodbye. They saved the kingdom, they saved the world, they saved the day, the curses are lifted, everybody's happy, but in the end, it's still goodbye. And that would have left us on a bittersweet note, but I still think it was a fine ending that way. Elizabeth chooses, after all this time, after the 3,000 years, after all this time, finally they get to be together one way or another. Similar to, once again, Gelda and Zeldris, which is brought up in this episode, would have been fine, is that yes, it's hard to say goodbye to everybody, but finally, after so long, they finally get to be together. It doesn't matter if it's in this country or this land or this plane of existence. She's going to follow him no matter where he has to go, because finally they can be together in peace, no matter where they end up. So it's sad on a friendship level. It's like it's the bitterness of saying goodbye, sort of like leaving your family behind to move, or to go study abroad, or to move to a new country, or moving back from places after staying in a certain spot so long. People move to go to Harvard or Yale or Oxford or whatever, and then they move back. But they've made friends and connections and maybe even lovers during that 4, 5, 10 years they spent in said place. Then they have to leave, so it's always bittersweet. Great to return home, great to be with the ones you love, but at the same time, you're also saying goodbye to people that you love. So once again, would have been a fine ending. Expand this a little more, and then they take off to the demon realm, happy ever after. Trust me when I say it's a better ending. Trust me. We will get into episode 15 and then on, and I'll be able to talk about what else happens in this damn volume and what happens in the volumes following it. But I will tell you right now that, trust me, there are multiple ways to rewrite from chapter 300 on, or whatever the episode that Demon King took over Meliodas' body was. There are multiple ways to rewrite that and make it a lot better. I'm talking about simplicity. I'm talking about not screwing with anything. I'm saying don't have the boulder fall on Elizabeth, expand the ending scene, done. I'm not telling about the different writing styles and how to change things a million different ways, because of course there are, and there are a million directions people can take it. Some people wouldn't like it that way, this way, or the other way. I'm just saying that with tweaking it as little as possible, you keep everything the same, you cut out the boulder falling, and then they walk off into the distance happily ever after. That, trust me when I say, trust me. I know I've been saying that a lot, guys, and I've been going on this for like 5 minutes now, but trust me, that will be a better ending than what we're going to get. So if you want to count that as a spoiler, sure. Maybe you guys will love the ending of this season. I doubt it, but maybe. So yeah. Once again, this was an okay episode. Nothing really too wrong with it necessarily. Missing some parts in my opinion. And yeah, knowing what's going to take place after this, there are going to be some fun moments. There'll be some fun moments for badassery coming, assuming we have half decent animation once again. But outside of that, this is going to be a long series. This is going to be a long. The reviews from this point on are just not going to be. It's not going to be pleasant, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that right now. This is not. Nope. This is not going to be pleasant. So that's my take on it anyways. 20-minute review later. Like, comment, and subscribe as always. Don't forget to drink responsibly, as I always do. And we'll see you guys back here next time. As I said, I needed to make sure. I waited quite a few days to watch and review this episode because I sort of knew the direction it was going to be. And I did a video that was like 44 minutes long. So that one I scrapped, and I re-recorded this here today. And it'll be out, sometime. But I tried recording it a second time. It just didn't feel right. And then I did this one. And This one's a little haphazard too, but I still think that I needed to get the point across that this could have been a fine ending, and the reasons behind it. This could have been a fine ending without the last little scene. Even if it seems abrupt and short, just trust me on it. This would have been better than what we're going to see in the future here. So, thanks guys so much for watching. Drink responsibly. See you back here next time.